I can't believe you did this. I trusted you. You were my best friend.
Cut! It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of filmmaking. Filmmaking is creative, it's fun, it's exciting, and most of all, it's challenging. When caught up in the challenge of filmmaking, one thing most people don't think about is sustainability. The idea of sustainability in filmmaking might be a foreign idea to most. Like, what does sustainability have to do with making a movie? Well, a lot of things actually. Let's start by taking a look at our scene over there. Let's take a look at the lights we use. Your choice of lights can greatly impact the amount of power your set uses. High-powered, low-efficiency lights can be replaced with high-efficiency LED light sources. It's also important where your power comes from. Is it from coal plants or clean energy sources like solar? Using used and recycled objects for set dressing is another one of the many ways a set can be sustainable. Another area we can look to for sustainability in filmmaking is craft services. From what food we serve to how we serve it can all be looked at. From more sustainable food choices to sustainable utensils and plates. Water is also another overlooked area when it comes to sustainability. The first solution for a lot of film sets on providing water is using plastic water bottles. Using things like reusable water bottles can help eliminate that waste. Also, looking at how we throw away our trash, making sure we recycle and compost is essential. When planning on making a film, sustainability is often the last thing on most people's minds. With that in mind, through this project, we want to follow a handful of student productions at California State Long Beach to see what sustainable practices look like and how it stacks up against other student productions. We will use a set of guidelines set up by the Green Productions Guide organization that provide great information on making a film set of any size sustainable, from guidelines on best practices to sustainable vendors. Now, let's take a look at these productions.
Hi, my name is Valerie Perez. I am the director for the film The Last Novel.
Hi, I'm Ellie Creighton, and I was the DP for The Last Novel.
Hi, I'm David Wish. I was the producer for The Last Novel.
So we had different trash bags. So we had for actual disposable, compostable, as well as recyclable. We also did have reusable cups. So they were kind of like more, instead of like plastic or foam cups, they're more like aluminum kind of cups, and those we also had like a big water jug, so instead of individual water bottles they can just get from that one source. And most of the time for our film we actually used LED lights, so instead of actually utilizing like harmful lights such as like the Fresnel lights or any of those more lights.
Understanding Fresnels take higher power. It's also kind of the light source itself and how it would work in that small room. And I felt that LEDs, which are also sustainable, would be easier for the set. So it's not only sustainable for the set, but it's more convenient for us to work around the set itself.
One of the greatest things about being on campus as well is some of our energy on campus actually comes from solar panels. So not only were we using energy efficient lights, we were using sustainable sources of energy for at least a portion of the energy we used on set.
I think the hardest part is the thing is that to be really green, you have to kind of like have everybody on the same kind of mindset. So we had about like 14 to 15 crew members. Some of us are already aware of like being sustainable, while others may not have been on a set that's sustainable. So we had to really push the mindset towards everybody on set.
One of the most exciting things about making this set sustainable was using the Peachy checklist to make our set sustainable. Obviously, the Peachy checklist is made for sets of all sizes, so there was a lot that didn't really fall under what we could do on a student film set, but there were so many great resources in the Peachy guide. I recommend any filmmaker looking to make their set sustainable look to the Peachy guide.
I think what Cal State Long Beach can do to make sets more sustainable is actually have resources available for that. We can focus on that, such as like for our own department, we don't really have a section that talks about sustainability. We mostly hear it from other people who did it. So I think we should have available access of like what can be sustainable.
But if I had to give any advice on how Cal State Long Beach could help make sets more sustainable, maybe like a grant, like not even a big grant, like a $50 or $100 grant to some of these productions, just to help them purchase things to be more environmentally sustainable. I think just a little bit of boost to the budget would not only incentivize more people to be environmentally friendly with their set, but also help the sets that want to do it actually be able to make their set sustainable.
Hi, I'm Jesus.
Hi, I'm Summer.
Hi, I'm Denise.
And we're students with the Office of Sustainability here at Cal State Long Beach. Here at the beach, we've implemented our Waste Not program, which aims to divert 90% of our university's waste by 2030. There's an abundance of materials being falsely advertised as recyclable, making recycling more confusing than ever.
This is why we are working to make it easier to do the right thing across campus. Now you can help too on game days in the pyramid. New and improved zero waste stations have been placed in the pyramid, which will be used to collect recyclable bottles and cans.
On the recycle bin, there are decals which explain what belongs in them. A key component to properly using these bins and avoiding contamination is to make sure recyclable bottles and cans are clean and dry. Being a part of the solution means everyone does their part to properly divert waste, keep our campus beautiful, and help move us towards our zero waste goals. Remember, no cups or straws.
Now that you know the importance of our project, I want to invite you to join and do your part as a student at the beach and as a human being on this planet.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalie and this is my app Zero Hero, which helps you find zero waste alternatives to everyday items. So we're going to go ahead and sign in, put in your email and password and hit enter. Then the first page it'll bring us to is the search page, which is the main section of our app, but we'll come back to that last. So first we're going to go home, where you can see your business spotlight of different zero waste businesses. You can view featured products and you can see your suggested swaps. Then we're going to go to our challenges section, where you can view challenges divided into difficulty level to help reduce your waste and overall carbon emissions. So for our first scenario, we're going to toggle this challenge, and we can set reminders up here, and you can choose how often you want notifications or reminders. We're going to do daily. You can choose your time, and that'll be toggled. Now if you go back, you can see daily reminders are set for 5 p.m. So we're going to go back, and we're going to go to the forum next, which is where you can view posts by other users and have discussions. And for our second scenario, we're going to post a discussion question of our own. So this will pop up and you can type in here, or you can add a photo if you'd like, but you don't have to. So we're going to ask for zero waste bulk store recommendations in Long Beach, and we're going to post that. And as you can see, it's now added to our feed. You can scroll down again. You can also view your posts on your own profile. So if you go to the profile section, you can view your posts, reviews, the amount of friends/followers you have, and the challenges you've completed, along with a bio about you, your location, your name, and your username. So finally, we're going to go to settings, and for our final scenario, we're going to think of a product that we want to swap. So today we're going to do Saran Wrap, and if we hit search, immediately results for Saran Wrap alternatives will appear. We can scroll through these, and we're going to choose the beeswax pack. Once we choose that, a product details page will open. You can see the title, the price, the average review, a little blurb about the product, and most importantly, down here you can see store availability in your area in a map format. And if you scroll down, it'll also be there in a list format. So we're going to click on Get Directions to the first one, and this will pop up. You can click Go Now. It'll give you the option to exit the app using either Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze. You can choose whichever one you like, and it'll take you out of the app. That's all, and thank you for listening.
My bird paintings have been inspired by traditional Southern California Native American songs called bird song.
The clip you're watching is the visual tree canopy of a residential street in Eagle Rock, a city in Los Angeles County that has a tree canopy of 35%. The next clip you see is a visual tree canopy of a residential street in Compton, another city in Los Angeles County where the average tree canopy is 12%. Although both cities are a part of Los Angeles County, there is a 23% difference in tree canopy coverage between them. Why is it that some LA County cities have more coverage than others? And what do we do to close the gap? Meet Cristina Basurto, a longtime resident of Huntington Park and a community organizing manager with City Plants, a nonprofit organization that provides free trees for residents in the city of Los Angeles. She's lived in her neighborhood for 39 years and was gracious enough to give me a tour of her home. Each of her family members has their own tree on her property. Her husband Ruben has a Mexican sweet lime tree. Her youngest son Andrew has a dwarf Asian pear tree. Her daughter Crystal has a mango tree. Her son Samuel has an apricot tree. And her father has a bacon avocado tree, which she uses to feed her community.
We have the community members will come in, and anything that you can grab by your hand, they'll grab. Anything in the middle is what we get, because that's what we get with our, there's like a basket that we use to pull. And then anything all the way in the top, the birds get. So that's how we share it.
She shared with me that she fell in love with trees and urban greening after seeing her children connect with nature.
But I didn't want to have to drive 2 hours to be around them and have my kids benefit from them. I wanted them in my community. We started volunteering at other planting events and other restoration events within the organization I was working at the time. But then I had the opportunity of working in my own community. So I was able to plant trees in my own community. I live in the city of Huntington Park right now. It is a 3 square mile city. We have about 60,000 residents. The majority of them are newly immigrants, so monolingual Spanish, and primarily from Mexico. It's a really family-oriented community. It's a walking community. A lot of people, you'll see them walking, but there was a lot of shade, need for shade in this community. So if we start looking down, some of these, like this tree that we're right under right now, or that one just across, I had the privilege of, while I was working at Tree People, that we planted 24 trees along my block.
Even though she's proud of the work she's done in the community, she shared how disheartening it can be when people don't acknowledge the benefit of trees. Here is the damage done to a catalpa tree, a tree she helped plant, and you can see where someone has tagged and scraped the bark of the tree. With some people not understanding the value, why is it important to have trees?
So I grew up in this community where we live right next to Farmer John. My nephew, when he was 5, 6 years old, as we walked, you know how as we walked the patio, he went outside and was walking, and he's all like, goes to the front, goes to the back, and he's all taking a sniff. We're like, okay, what's going on with this kid? And then he comes and he tells my mother-in-law, he goes, I think God just farted. It smells bad. because it smelled in the front, it smelled in the back. So he assumed it was God, the one that farted, and it's the smell from the rendering companies. Years, what is it, about 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago maybe, when it became public that Exide was operating also the battery recycling company there that was not following directions the way they were supposed to, or regulations the way they were supposed to. So there's arsenic and lead that was released into the area. So there's a lot of, like the high school that I attended to was really close to where the fallout was. So we were exposed to all those things. And I've heard of folks that have had issues, like there was a higher incidence of folks out here with disabilities. And I can't say it's because of that, but there could have been other contributing factors, but it could be one of the factors. And it just feels funny that this is one of the hot spots for children that have neurological disabilities when we've had all those factories that are expelling a lot of crazy stuff. So to me, that's why trees are important, because they help filter all that. They're not just pretty little things to look at, but they help create the shade. They help filter those items, but they also help cool our communities. So the negativity that I've heard with regards to planting trees, one of the major things is like, it's going to damage my pipes. It's going to lift my sidewalk. It's going to drop a lot of leaves and make it dirty for me. In this community, when I was working in Koreatown Youth and Community Center, we primarily worked in Central LA and South LA. The primary complaint there was if we have a tree, that's where the unhoused folks like to camp under. If I had a magic wand, how would I make that change? I think it starts with funding, ultimately, because we can share knowledge with the community. We can get people passionate about having trees in their property. We get passionate about caring for the trees. But when there's no funding in place to acquire the trees, to prune the trees, to cover for the watery stuff, it adds. And a lot of the communities that we are serving through city plans and the other organizations that I've worked with, like Koreatown Youth and Community Center and Tree People, the focus is on communities that have been historically disinvested for years. So in these communities, there is no funding. And when you come in and you offer a free tree, you're also offering a huge obligation. We did the numbers, and it shows that watering a tree is only $10 for a year if you water a 15-gallon tree. Great, $10. It's like 2 gallons of milk at the end of the year. And if you're penny pinching and thinking, how am I going to feed my kids? $10 is a lot. So ultimately, that person can love the trees. But if the funds are not there, it's a luxury to have a tree.
Meet Rachel O'Leary, Executive Director of City Plans and co-founder of the Urban Forest Equity Collective. I asked her what are some of the barriers she's witnessed in her work. What can community members do to improve the urban greening equity gap in their communities? And what she imagines a greener LA will look like.
So when we think about canopy equity, some of the barriers that we've encountered in this field they're so wide ranging. They can be at the community level, whether residents really want trees or want trees planted in their neighborhood, to the institutional level, how much funding is there to plant trees, and more importantly, often how much funding is there to care for trees after they've been planted. And then kind of the physical space, is there space to plant trees? And if not, why isn't there space to plant trees? How did urban planning really impact our ability to plant trees where they're needed most? And what we often find is that historically redlined communities that have been disinvested for decades have less space for canopy, meaning it's a lot easier to plant trees along a street where there's an already existing grassy parkway, right? That strip in between the sidewalk and the street. It matters. We find that a lot of wealthier neighborhoods have a better maintained urban forests, more space to plant trees so that we can solve the problem of canopy equity. But a lot of the neighborhoods that have been historically disinvested don't have any parkway space. And maybe that looks like even on private property where we can plant a lot of trees. There are multi-residential, multi-unit housing that prevents us from being able to maximize space for greenery on private property as well. And so I think about the barriers in terms of what are the barriers at the community level, the barriers at the institutional levels, and then the barriers of the physical environment and space. And part of that is looking at why is there so little space for trees in some of the most disinvested communities in LA? We know that trees are not equitably distributed. The average canopy in the city is 21%, but in places like South LA, Boyle Heights, Westlake, or Koreatown, you have tree canopy ranging from 8 to 10%. And that presents serious public health issues, right? When people don't have access to green space, they don't have access to clean air, they don't have access to shade, and those things are incredibly important during the climate crisis. One of the interventions that the Urban Forest Equity Collective is looking at is maybe if there's community support to take away every 6th parking space to build a new well for a tree, that could be something that becomes commonplace in city policy. So that when planners and when urban forestry practitioners and when community members come to city plans and they ask us for more trees, there are solutions that we can provide them. Even though it might not be done immediately. What I've realized over the last few years working at city plants is that there's immense power when community and neighborhoods come together and ask for more resources. And so I think there's power in numbers, there's power in collective action, and it all really starts with creating that relationship with the vibrancy, the plant life in your neighborhood, noticing where you want and need more trees, and then asking for it. I envision a city where every single person has equal access to trees and their benefits. That means trees on every block, shaded corridors where people can walk to and from school, to work, wait for the bus protected under a dense canopy of shade and urban trees. I envision a city in LA where the institutions who hold power recognize the voices of community members when they're making decisions about where trees should be, that they allocate more resources to trees and their care. I really envision a city where trees are in every single block, where your zip code does not define your ability to breathe clean air, to have access to shade, and to have a more vibrant, climate resilient community. So I hope it can happen.